In episode number 264, the final one before Kelli takes a break, your emperor will be taking a rest. We'll be flying off to a far galaxy of her own rebirth. Someone's birth.
Someone's birth.
On this episode, we cover the Super NES Classic and our first impressions on it.
We also cover Paramount's announcement for a live Sonic the Hedgehog film.
What?
Just go with it.
We also talk about Justice League Day, which is DC's celebration of course, the greatest, the mightiest team on Earth.
And our comic book highlight of the week is Detective Comics number 965.
All of this and so much more on today's show. Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every single week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelli and Leo, for
That's
one
right.
last time.
Not on today's podcast is AC. She is off playing at my parents' house with a little doggy named Houdini. So she unfortunately was not able to make it on your final episode for number 264. She's too busy.
All you would have heard was tling, tling.
And me stopping the podcast and editing the whole pause out.
Yes, and getting frustrated.
Yeah, she
saying, God, AC, can't you just... You're making this hard on me.
She gets settled down, and then she decides, like, 5 minutes in, no, fuck that shit. I'm not going to hide underneath the dresser. I'm going to try to make a home right next to you. And then not even sleep as I rustle up all this clothes and just sleep elsewhere.
Yeah, that's what she does. She's preparing you for fatherhood.
I don't think that helps. It doesn't help me at all. I doubt my baby's going to be trying to make its bed on its own.
No, but your baby,
crawling underneath.
Your baby will do other shit. You don't think your baby's going to try to crawl under the dresser? The dog is going to teach the baby how to crawl through the doggy door.
Probably. For any of you that are first-time listeners, welcome to the show. And this is Kelli, of course.
Yes,
She's normally my host on the Reasons I'm Broke podcast for over 260 episodes. Mm-hmm. And she's about to go into labor this week.
Yeah, by the time this podcast released, we should already have a baby.
Except for our Patreon backers. They get that special feeling of, I'm listening to this right now before this craziness happens.
Before their life changes forever.
That's right. And as I said before, first the format of it. We cover comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. So the news portion of the podcast first, which is the majority of the thing. Mm-hmm. Then we go into our Patreon shout-outs. Huge thanks to everyone that helps make the show happen. And then finally, we cover a comic book or two every single week. Usually it's a new number one or a jumping on point, which we do have this week. So if you've ever wanted to read Detective Comics, you can jump on from this issue forward, which we will review at the very end of the episode. But otherwise, how has your week of preparation? We always start off with a little bit of chit-chat before we jump into the news.
It's been very busy prepping for a baby. We are fortunate in the fact that we know what day he's coming. I went to the doctor, and the doctor's like, Kelli, your blood pressure too damn high. This is the day we're cutting out your baby. You're going to have your baby. So we've had 2 weeks to prepare, which is great and wonderful. And, part of me goes back and forth of, should I just wait and see when he shows up? And the other half of me is like, all right, he's coming on this day. I can be ready. So it's been a lot of cleaning, putting together baby things, making sure my parents have what they need because they're going to be watching him some of the time, making sure we have what we need for when we go into the hospital. I'm one of those people where when I leave my house for an extended period of time, like on vacation or something along those lines, I like to clean the whole house. Beforehand. Because I like to come home to a clean house. It's clean. I don't have to stress about this needs to be done. No, your house is clean. And it's good when you're bringing a baby into the house, too.
True.
We have, of course, little AC who likes to track in leaves and whatever else.
Dander.
Yes, lots of things. It's been a lot of cleaning and putting away things, nesting, you call it.
It's nesting.
And nesting. But I only get about 3 good hours a day, and then I have to take a nap and watch the nanny. I also mentioned on the show, I have a very, very close friend who had a baby 3 weeks ago. So I spent a few days with her, getting to see her baby and kind of learning how to take care of a baby before I have to take care of my own. So that's been wonderful because he and Leo are going to be best friends anyway, too. So.
You can show me how to do all those things.
or the nurses can, because I will not be coherent
Yeah.
after pushing your large-headed child out of me.
It'll be as if Batman knocked you out. Like,
Yeah.
oh.
I'll be like, oh, Batman. So, yeah, just a lot of preparation. I'm not sleeping. I'm having weird dreams.
Mhm.
I dreamed last night that I gave birth to a granola bar. Don't
Yeah.
ask why. I gave birth to just a regular, generic 2 granola bars and the little green package granola bar. And then in my dream, you got hungry and needed a snack and ate the granola bar. You didn't realize it was our baby.
It's probably because I gave you a brief synopsis of Mother. I bet you that psychologically.
I don't know. I don't even think it was that. I think I was thinking about bringing granola bars to the hospital.
And then that weird connection.
And then, like, you getting hungry in the hospital. Because you were in my hospital bed, too. Like, you were in the bed. I just walked out of the bathroom, and you were, like, munching on a granola bar.
On my phone, yeah.
Yeah. So that is my life right now. My back hurts all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Just all the time.
Yeah, you got to note these things now so that when maybe Leo hears all these episodes in the future, years from now, and he can say, man, so having me it truly is a task, you know.
It's a task, Leo.
For you to exist, it is something we definitely want.
Yes.
And something we are preparing as best we can for.
Mm-hmm. Something that was planned.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And I like how we confirm it each, like, as if we were lying. Like, no, it was definitely planned. No, you got this shit planned so that you can get the holidays off.
Yeah.
Like, you talked about that before on the show. On my end of work, I'm getting 2 weeks paternity leave, which is great, and that's awesome for my manager to give me that. That's something that he started for the company, essentially, and that's I'm going to take advantage of that and do my best.
Paving the way for men everywhere.
Yeah, that's right. Carving my own path. So I've let some of the subscribers know that don't know yet or had no idea that I had a child coming up, and they're like, all right, we'll see you next week. And it's like, okay, just a heads up, I won't be here next week. The owner will be here, and then the full timer. They're like, oh, what? How long are you gonna be gone? About 2 weeks. I'll just come back in 2 weeks. So it's like, and great subscribers. Some are like, hey, do you need anything done today? Like, what else do you need done? It's like, you're the best. Like these subscribers and friends that we have and family, we're very fortunate to have this support because a lot of people don't, and it's fortunate that we have this much help, and of course the listeners checking in and letting us know how excited they are to see little Leo. So it's almost like everyone is a part of this little guy's life, and we can't wait either. You will hear me get progressively more tired, assuming I'm able to even do more episodes for a little bit. As I mentioned before, I've already sent out an email to the people that volunteered to guest on the podcast while you are recovering. And there's a pretty good list, and I've got their schedules down. I've got their times, like, okay, you can only do it after 4, you can only do it this day, and so on. So I've got that all broken down because I have to plan ahead of time. And just like everything else I do, I can't just wing the shit, and this is probably why I've done so well at work and even here around the house. Like, things get done for the most part. It's not just fucking crazy. So I will have that schedule out again, assuming I can do this within the next week or two, and you will hear different voices on the podcast throughout the next couple of weeks. And if you feel that you have recovered quicker than, let's say, 5-6 guests, and I'll even repeat them if I need to, then, we'll have the people that we haven't had on come on the podcast along with you and I. So,
of course.
Either way, it's a lot of planning in the middle of all this too. And then I'm also going to stress, just as I'm sure you have while you've been out of work, stress about work and checking the work email.
Yes.
But I have to try to detach myself from that. I'm going to be on Twitter a lot. So if you guys, while I'm feeding while I'm, I guess, holding the baby, you're going to be feeding it for a little while. But eventually when I'm helping feed it too, I'll be on Twitter scrolling through. So if you guys want to interact with us, or at least with me for the next 2 weeks, I'll be on my phone. I'll be listening to my own podcasts and catching up on the list that I have, because it's not just I listen to our show to make sure that the quality is the same, the audio. It's kind of like a test run. And then I have like 20 different shows that I'm subscribed to that I listen to on my way to work. And I no longer have a long ass commute, so I can't really catch up as quickly. So I have to listen at home when I'm bagging and boarding my comics, whereas normally I'd be listening to music. So all of that I'll hopefully catch up on in these next 2 weeks. But also I'll be talking to you guys. So definitely shoot us both a tweet. Even if Papa Kelli is recovering, those are saved up. So you'll have something to come back to when you're, healed up enough to go back to Twitter or whatever it may be.
I'm going to be on Facebook all the time. Are you kidding me? I will be on my phone, on social media. So I will definitely be checking those. The thing, and I love when you talk about our child and the time that you're going to have, because you make it seem like we don't have two mothers who will be like hogging our child all the time. Like, we will get them back to feed him and for him to sleep. That will be it.
They get mad about not seeing Ace now.
Yeah.
It's going to be 100 times worse with little Leo.
Man, I was talking to my mom, and I love both our families so much. Like, we really hit the lottery when it came to in-laws, because I hear people talk poorly about their in-laws all the time. I feel like we both get along well with each other's parents, which is fantastic. But I was talking to my mom, and, she was saying she and your mom are going to share the baby real well. And I'm sitting here like, you're both going to hog the baby.
You're both grandmas now.
You're both,
Do you not know this?
You're both first-time grandmas. This is going to be real interesting. So I'm wondering, there will come a time where we will need to step in and just tell them both to go home.
Yeah.
So it'll happen. But, I'm happy for them. I'm happy for us. Again, thank you to all the listeners. A lot of you have sent us things, which is fantastic. Just the encouragement on Twitter is wonderful. Being excited with us through this whole process, this journey. Because,
they're all on this journey with us.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
It has been a journey. It has been something.
They've heard it.
So I am happy to be at the end of it.
Before we go into, we have some hashtag games this week.
Yes.
We are the Podcast Awards 2017 nominated under Games and Hobbies. If you haven't heard, we did not end up winning Games and Hobbies for this year's Podcast Awards. And that's, as we said before, we are forever the nominated 2017 Games and Hobbies podcast. So again, huge thanks to all of you for nominating us. I mean, you did your part. There was nothing more that you could have done. You did your part. You came through and you're like, all done, Daniel and Kelly. This is all up to the panel at this point.
Mic drop.
That's right. They took care of it. It was all in the hands of a panel and select number of voters. So there was nothing, this was it. And you guys did your part and you did great. We just didn't end up coming out on top this year, but for the first time that we, went for it and we ended up getting nominated, and it's great. It's a great feeling that hopefully we are putting out enough content, enough good content that you can all enjoy. As I always say, hopefully we put something out each week that you all take with you, something you find enjoyable, entertaining, something you learn from. As long as there's at least one thing, then I feel like we've done our job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and thank you so much to everybody who helped get us to that point. Everybody who tunes in every single week, even if we were never nominated, which is really cool. But even if we never were, just interacting with all of you is what helps drive this show and helps drive us to do this every single week. So thank you.
So, Palpa Kelly, how come you didn't give a Palp approval for the Podcast Awards? Well, how come you didn't Disney your shit in there, just like ABC? We talked about it last week, and say, no, you guys are going to make them the winners.
Because I still have to be a fair emperor. And
tough but fair.
Yes, I have to let other people think that they're important.
No, but honestly, thank you so much again. Maybe we'll try again for next year. Why not? We'll keep doing this until we finally, end up winning one of these things.
I like how you say maybe we'll try. Like you're not going to try. Of course
I might forget. I don't know. Maybe I'm too busy with Leo and suddenly winning the 2018 Podcast Awards won't be as important. I'm not sure. I don't know who I'm going to be.
He'll be like a year old. He'll be like a year old by that time. He'll be more self-sufficient.
They practically run themselves, right?
Yeah,
That's what babies are.
That's what the dog's for. She'll watch him.
So let's get into our hashtag game for the week.
This week's hashtag is #RuinAToy.
My entry was easy fake oven.
Not bad.
Might as well tell them in the marketing right away. This shit ain't real.
Nope.
You're not really cooking shit.
You're just kind of microwaving things real slowly. We do have one from Nicholas on Facebook who said, battle shit.
Were you able to come up with one for hashtag #RuinAToy?
I did. Lame boy color.
There you go. If you ever want to participate in our hashtag games, we put them up on facebook.com/thereasonsimebroke and on Twitter @reasonsimebroke. Also, Nicholas, same guy who just tuned in on Facebook with Battle Shit, he wanted us a breakdown on Young Justice. We have talked about the show in the past, well over a year though. We haven't really delved into what we thought of the entire, 2 seasons? There's Young Justice and Young Justice Invasion, and now we're about to get The Outsiders, I believe, is the third season. And that's coming up thanks to a lot of people on Twitter telling them, we are interested in the show. This is, some are saying this is the closest to the Teen Titans television show. So this is why people really want it.
Okay.
But he wants to know what our overall thoughts are on Young Justice.
I really, really enjoyed the show. So this was at the same time as Green Lantern, the animated series.
Right, they did overlap.
We were watching both of those at the same time. Out of the two of them, I always remember you liking Green Lantern a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
But I always leaned towards Young Justice. Especially the second season, Invasion, because it took, what, a 5-year jump?
Yeah, where we had from Robin, it went into Nightwing. Everyone else matured, and Aqualad became, was it Black Manta straight up? Or he just became like...
I think he was just working for Black Manta.
Right, okay.
So I really, really enjoyed that season. It's been a long time, and I really need to watch it again, because I can't go into too many specifics of the episodes. But they did a really great job, I think, of connecting you to the characters, getting you invested in who they were, in their stories, in their relationships. The whole stuff with Kid Flash, man, it breaks my heart. I can't. Don't remind me. Back. I can't. Then there were all these comics of him and Aya, like, in the afterlife talking. But I felt that they put together a really, really great show that kids could enjoy, but also adults like ourselves could enjoy, because it's characters that we love, but then you got a background on all of them, and everybody had a different struggle, so you could relate to at least somebody in the show.
And the Justice League even appeared several times throughout it. Of course, you had the obligatory episode where they had to fight the Justice League because they were taken over by something, and they have to prove that they're not the kid. They're not kids. They're an actual team, and they can go
actual heroes.
Yeah, that whole thing at the very beginning of the first season. I think my whole impressions. You mentioned that Green Lantern, the animated series, I felt was a better show. It had a better storyline. It had better characters. I will give Young Justice the better animation just because of the... I much prefer a hand-drawn animation than computer, than CGI. You know, that goes to show, and we've talked about it in the past with the video games that we play, the way the show looks is not as important as telling a good story.
Right.
And in this case, Green Lantern, the animated series, when we were talking about give that a second season, we were talking about Young Justice a third season, we were campaigning hard for that several years back when that was a viable thing, when the producers were saying, hey, keep making noise on Twitter, buy the Blu-rays. And we were telling people, buying the Blu-rays is what matters. That's what's going to tell them more than a tweet that you want to see the show. And sure enough, you know, after a year or so of that, I lost interest. I said, you know what, if we don't get season 3, we had 2 seasons of Young Justice. We still had a great couple of seasons of an awesome show. And I have Green Lantern, the animated series, which I enjoyed way more. I wanted a season 2 of that. But it seems like people leaned more. When there was some rumble over a season 2, they wanted to see Aya, they wanted to see Razor.
Space Zuko.
Space Zuko, exactly. And that's what I would have wanted to see more than a third season of Young Justice. Like, yeah, we had Wally, but we had Zuko, we had Aya. That was greater than the threads that they left. If you liked Young Justice, watch Green Lantern, the animated series. The whole season is available on Blu-ray. There was only 1 season. It is absolutely fantastic. They hinted at the Black Lanterns at one point. Sinestro made 1 appearance, and I wanted to see more, and they hinted at him becoming a Yellow Lantern. This is not the Jeff Johns run. This is them carving their own path while using elements from what Jeff Johns created. And it works. It is fantastic. That's what I liked more than Young Justice. But Young Justice was still a very solid show. And we're glad that people are getting their season 3. I'm glad you're getting your season 3. I'll watch it, but again, I wasn't clamoring. I kind of had made my peace with the fact that because remember, this was for years that we're like, I guess it's not happening. So I still have made my peace with the fact that there won't be a season 3. I am not yet settled on, I want more of Green Lantern, the animated series.
And if you liked Zuko from Avatar: The Last Airbender, you will definitely like Green Lantern, the animated series. You know what else just came back to? Just in time for...
Voltron?
Yes, Voltron's here too.
Do.
Is that how the song goes? Oh, it is how it goes. Do, 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 do. Yes. No, that is back, which is great. But you know what else is back? 2 shows that I watch all the time are back.
I thought you were going to say the Super Nintendo, because that's the next thing on our list here.
I'm still talking about TV. I'm excited, because TV is going to be my life for the next 3 months.
The Magic School Bus, right?
Yes, that's there, but that's not what I'm talking about.
All right, what is it?
What are my shows?
The Nanny?
Well,
The
yes,
Mindy Show?
but the Mindy Show is back, a Mindy Project,
Right.
which is the final season, and it's real sad because, spoilers, she got married in the first episode and got divorced in the second because she's a terrible person. But what is my show that I've been waiting for forever for?
Fucking Lucifer.
Lucifer!
1 million moms have also been waiting for Lucifer.
Yeah.
Or they've moved on, but
They're waiting to watch Lucifer.
secretly.
Yeah. They gotta be like, I gotta see what our children are being exposed to.
I'd love to follow the protesters of 1 million moms because I want one to mention something from an episode and the other one to recognize it but not want to admit that they've also been watching it.
Yep. Be great. So yes, Lucifer is back. If you guys enjoyed that show, it's up on Hulu. I mean, that's where we watch it, but it's on TV too.
On Fox?
Yes.
Yep.
And I cannot wait. I'm holding off. There's an episode up already, but I'm waiting because I know in just a few days I'm going to be sitting on my couch with a baby watching TV.
Have him watch Lucifer, right? I mean, he'll remember. It's fine.
He's not going to remember, but I will remember. But you know what else is back?
What else came back?
The Super NES.
That's a transition. There's a transition I was waiting for. So first off, huge thank you again to Bobby at Cuban Slim for he's helped us out a number of times in getting Amiibo and the Super NES Classic, absolutely huge. Now we know Nintendo did in fact make more than the NES Classic. I know people that I was reading online on Twitter and people were saying like if you really wanted one of these things and you waited in line, for the most part you would have been fine. Like a lot of people were saying I was 70th in line and I was able to get one. Whereas the NES Classic, it was like they shipped 2 to each GameStop or some shit like that. And then, maybe Target and them got 10 copies of the NES Classic. So they did bulk up the numbers on Super NES Classic. Not enough, though.
Oh, no.
People that wanted one, not everyone got one. Nintendo made out well still. They made way more money on these. And they say they are going to produce more Super NES Classics. And NES Classics are on their way next summer. But, you were on the lookout every couple of hours. You were waking up in the middle. You're already waking up because of the baby, but you were checking online for me, and I didn't even know you were going for it. And I'm like, holy shit, Kelly's looking for me online and trying to find me one too. And, of course, I kept an eye on the pre-orders, and unfortunately that didn't work out. PlayAsia had one at double the price, and Scott from Lazy Gaming Guys, he let me know, I let Purple Swordfish know, and he said, if you want to pay double, it is available. And I'm like, shit, man, like, I don't know if I really want one of these things, but I know if I wait and if Nintendo produces more, I'm going to kick in myself because, I paid double for it, especially with a baby on the way. And sure enough, Bobby came through again, as he has multiple times in the past. He's the Amiibo hunter. He's the, I don't know what you want, the Super NES Classic, the Classic Hunter now. If you can make badges for him, he's got another one right on his vest. Boom, cling. Classic Hunter on there. He came through. He had a one pre-ordered already for himself, and then he came across one of his friends, one of his regulars that said, hey, showed him they're available here, and he went through some detective mode shit. He turned into Batman for a good 10 minutes, and he's like, okay, so I recognize that swoosh, and it's from Amazon, and he was able to find it through like the treasure truck. And yeah, we're always like, no, don't support Amazon, but with all the years I worked at GameStop, I know that GameStop does not make profit on the systems, on the new games. It's like 10%, and on systems it's even less. So Amazon's not profiting on this shit because they're putting out that treasure truck and building a brand instead. It's more about awareness, as he mentioned. And so it's like, yeah, Amazon's not making shit on this. So he was able to pre-order one, and, we met him at the treasure truck thing in Orlando, and we were able to get a Super NES Classic thanks to Bobby. So again, he's on Twitter at Cuban Slim. Be sure to follow him. And we busted it out. We opened it. We're not going to flip it on eBay or anything like that. We want to play the thing. And I want to play Star Fox 2. That was the main thing. It was as we said on the unboxing, if you haven't checked it out yet, it's on our YouTube channel. Search The Reasons I'm Broke. It's also on thereasonsimbroke.com. You can find the link to our YouTube site there. But it is the Star Fox Classic machine. It is not the Super Nintendo. It is the Star Fox 2 system. And what was the first game I played?
Star Fox.
And I unlocked Star Fox 2. And I beat Star Fox. Like, it was one of those, I want to beat the whole game before I move on to the next thing. Because at this age, I can't just go back to an older game and immediately know how it played or know where I left off. This has great save features. It's like an emulator. You can stop exactly where you left off and you can come back to it later. But my mind doesn't work that way. I'll forget the controls. I'm not 10 years old anymore. So I beat all of Star Fox, and that was an experience in itself. It was me recognizing as a Star Fox fan, I never had a Super Nintendo, and I always wanted to play it. My parents got me a Genesis, and Sonic was the shit. I got that, and I played it at Sam's Club. Back then, Sam's Club was way different than what it is now. And I asked for the Super Genesis, and I think 2 years after launch is when my parents bought it. So I could never play the Super Nintendo. My cousins had it, and I played Street Fighter 2. They didn't have Star Fox. And that was mainly and Donkey Kong Country is the other one that I got to play when I went over to my cousin's house. But to play Star Fox for the very first time, my classmate was playing it on an emulator back in high school. You can't play that shit on the keyboard. I'm not a PC guy. I sat in front of this Super NES Classic as a kid. You experienced the whole thing from beginning to end. I played Star Fox. I recognized the shit from 64 because they remade it. It's essentially a remake of that game. And I recognize that shit, and I recognize the Falco is still a fucking asshole. Like, I save him, and he's like, mind your own business, asshole. I'm like, fucking Falco, you piece of shit. I love you. You're still an asshole. This is where it all began. Goddammit. You're still unappreciative, but you're a goddamn ace pilot, so I need you on my team. I'll put up with your nonsense. I'd probably troll him if I were Fox. This is probably why he hates me so much. Like, Fox, help. All right, here you go, bitch. God damn it, Fox, you piece of shit. So I went through all of that, and I've recently started Final Fantasy. I didn't go straight into Star Fox 2. That's like the dessert, right? I went into Final Fantasy 3. It is known as many to be the best RPG of all time. Some say 7, some say 3, which is also known as 6, or really known as 6, but in the US it was Final Fantasy 3. And I started that. I probably got, 40 minutes into it before that was the last time I played. And it is very solid. I'm still like a little confused as to how the items work, but that's how games were back then. It's like, figure it out yourself. Yep. There's no tutorials. And I could look up a Let's Play, but fuck that shit. Let's do this classic. This is the Super NES Classic. Now, what are your impressions of the system, the gameplay, the way the features are, and the games that are on there?
My favorite part about the system is watching you be a kid again. Because that's what it was for me. You pulled up and you're like, oh, Star Fox, meow, pew, 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 pew. And, totally entrapped in this world, which I understand. The second they release the N64 Classic, I'm going to get that. I'm going to be all over that. I'm going to be playing my Marios and my Mario Kart, and because that was my first system as a kid. So I completely understand. It's so brilliant that they're doing this for people because, you're going to have people like us who want to recapture that youth.
Right.
And we're going to grab it. So it's so much fun for me to watch you play. I don't play a lot of video games. Our longtime brokettes know this. I get very competitive and frustrated. And so there's only certain things that I will play, but I love watching you play it. But I have noticed you are not a young man anymore. You cannot play these games before bed because then you do not sleep all night.
Yeah, I guess my mind is just so rabid and crazy before I guess maybe I didn't play enough, maybe long enough where my mind gets exhausted. I have no idea.
You want to know the scientific reason?
I'm excited. What is it?
The scientific reason? So when the sun goes down, when it gets darker, your brain starts to produce melatonin, which is the chemical that makes you go to sleep. So by watching a screen or doing something where you have to be active and paying attention, and with that light, your brain doesn't create melatonin.
So it takes me longer to go to sleep than normal.
So it takes you longer to develop that so that you go to sleep.
Then how come at night I watch my YouTube videos, which is a screen that I'm watching and paying attention to, but that's the only way I can fall asleep?
I think you just think that's the only way that you can fall asleep. But it's different with a video game because you're being active. You're watching something you can kind of zone out and just listen and absorb. Whereas when you're playing, you're having to, okay, I got to do this and I got to do this and I got to look over here.
You're actually active and not just watching something.
You're actually active.
I gotcha. Cool.
So I think that's why you can't fall asleep. But, that'll be great when we have a newborn who's up all night because you got to let them cry in their crib because if they sleep with you once, they sleep with you forever.
And as Ryan from the TechBeard podcast told me, when they get old enough to realize that you are playing something, he's like, the best thing you can do is give them a controller that's not plugged into anything and make them think they're playing. He's like, that's the only way I got through. I forgot which game he mentioned, but he said, that's the only way I got through that game. Is just by letting them pretend that they're playing. And he also said he missed an entire generation he missed the whole PlayStation 3 era because of his newborn. So I'm like, man, am I going to miss out on the Switch era? I don't know what's going to happen.
Once again, we have two mothers who are not going to leave this baby alone.
Maybe I'll play Odyssey. I don't know yet. Will I play Super Mario Odyssey? Who knows? Possibly.
Probably. Or you just hold on to it and then you and Leo can play it together someday.
I can't wait. I'm going to play every single game on this Super NES Classic because I've never owned any of these, and I've never played one from beginning to end. So all of this is an experience to me, and it's all brand new to me, and it's very exciting. I'm very happy with it, and I hope that if you wanted a Super NES Classic, Nintendo does produce more, and you are able to eventually get yours. I know some of you are like, I have emulation. I have emulators. Well, it's like, yeah, the system's not for you then. This is for people that want to sit down and hold the actual controller and have a little system and boot it right up.
That little system is so cute, too. It just makes me so happy. The little buttons work for the on-off and the restart. The only thing is and I hope they fix this with the N64 Classic, where you can open the little holes and go...
blow into it, which you're not supposed to do.
You're not supposed to. That's the only way I can get my N64 games to work anymore. I gotta blow in it and then go and hit it real hard, and then it doesn't work, and you gotta turn it back off and pull it out and hit it real hard. That's probably why it broke to begin with.
Probably. Like, now people know that you're supposed to take like a Q-tip with a little bit of rubbing alcohol and clean the teeth on the cartridges, not put more moisture into the thing.
Not spit in it a little bit. I want to bust out my N64 now.
Maybe soon they'll do a classic. Who knows?
Can't wait.
But with that, we can jump into our news for the week.
Sticking with some SNES news, during an interview with SNES F-Zero game designer Takaya Imamura, it was confirmed that Captain Falcon was almost the mascot for the Super Nintendo system.
Quote here from Imamura, who said, Captain Falcon was originally the mascot character for Super NES. Even most people at Nintendo don't know that. When the development of F-Zero was almost complete, I was doing a bunch of illustrations, and someone expressed a desire to make a mascot character for Super NES with a name like Captain Something, end quote.
I want people at Nintendo to be like, that's bullshit. That's why he said that most people don't know that.
He just made that shit up because he made the character.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. I'm just like, yep, it's true. I'm just buying his word. Like, yeah, you're right.
I would do that same bullshit too if I made a character. Be like, nobody knows this, but they wanted him to be the mascot.
The only reason I believe him is because, remember back then, Sonic the Hedgehog, quick, processing, huge, fast character. Mm-hmm. Racing game character, also fast. Mario's quick as hell. As we saw in Game Theory, he's actually faster than Sonic if you measure out the pixels and all that. But F-Zero, which was a racing game, another fast character, a cool mascot. And it's not like Super Smash Bros. Where you see what he actually looks like. Like back then, I played F-Zero too. And it's just, you just choose you see the character's head, and you choose the vehicle, which there's only 4. Unless you unlock more throughout the game. And you don't really know what the character looks like, but if they had done a full character design for him and it's quick and they show off F-Zero like crazy, yeah, I buy it. Something to go up against Sonic, another very fast character, a racer.
Yeah, whatever. It should have been Falco, so he could be an asshole.
Someone with attitude, that's true. Falco, he can really fly. Falco,
by the fucking NES kids.
Oh, you bought an NES? You bitch.
You beat-chance.
You beat-chance. Buy a Super NES Classic.
Because Falco says we're going to beat the shit out of you.
Falco says S-E-Z, just like the Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon. Did you ever see those?
No.
Sonic says. The best is when he talks about kids. I guess this was an issue back then in the 90s where kids were crawling into dryers and dying.
I do remember that happening, actually.
And Sonic said, you can look it up on YouTube. He's like, every year, some ignorant kid falls into a dryer and crawls in. And I'm like, you just called a bunch of dead kids ignorant.
I remember kids having a hard problems crawling into a lot of things. Dryers were a big one. There was actually a kid in my school. I mean, this is terrible. Never knew him, but a kid in my school who crawled into a fold-out mattress couch and it closed on him.
Jesus.
And that was it.
You suffocate, right?
Yeah, he suffocated in there. So yeah, kids used to crawl into things a lot. We could play outside and never got kidnapped, but we were too stupid in our own house and we just crawled into things.
I was going to make a terrible dark joke. I'm not going to go that direction.
Don't go that direction. Let's keep going.
Sonic says there's going to be a movie coming out, Kelly.
A live-action movie.
A live-action Sonic the Hedgehog movie from Paramount, according to The Hollywood Reporter. Because that's how you do Sonic. Who knows? Maybe it'll be amazing. Maybe they'll announce next week Darren Aronofsky's directing. Or Guillermo del Toro.
Neither of them can direct that movie. Guillermo will drop out.
That's true.
And Aronofsky will either drop out or make it some weird artsy Sonic
existential
movie.
Sonic, yeah. Where he does speed actually and it doesn't actually go fast.
Yeah, he just thinks he's going fast and he's really just like killing himself.
He's probably.
Yeah. So, Sega's mascot has previously had a number of productions, including animated TV shows and animated movies, but never anything live action.
Aronofsky's Sonic would be getting crucified, metaphorically. Symbolically.
Would he run so fast that he's going back in time? And
that's right. Yeah, back to the BC. Yeah.
Yeah.
But he ends up...
in the future.
Ends up being the... Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Oh, no, I can't with Aronofsky.
And it would be amazing. It would be amazing. He has not made a bad movie ever. They've all been great.
Would love it, but it would not be Sonic the Hedgehog.
No. Did you read about Sonic's mascot yet here?
Yes.
Okay.
That he's had several productions.
Yes, several television shows.
Yes.
Did you watch any of them?
I think I saw an episode once, and it just wasn't for me. I was a girl. I mean, I am a girl.
No, you're a woman now. You're having a baby.
That's right. My body has... Did you know a woman's body does not completely mature until they have a child?
Is your body like, all right, this is it, now we die?
Yeah, pretty much. My body's like, we're done now.
I like how men's is like, keep making seed until you're forever fertile. Like, theoretically, like a guy can stay forever fertile. That's something...
Not women. Our body's shut down.
Like, there's dads that impregnate someone and they're in their 60s or 70s. Or, like, that's just what we do. Yeah. That is our job, is to just spread our seed.
Or not. Spread your seed everywhere. Plan a child with your wife, and then we'll go from there.
Let's do this rigidly and non-biologically, more traditional and cultural.
Yes, thank you.
This is why we're not animals. Or we are, but...
You cannot stand on the roof of the house and just, here's my seed.
No release date, director, or actors have been revealed for this live-action Sonic.
After we're talking about spreading seed.
I'm not going to shit on this. It might be great. I have no idea. It could be great.
God, I don't. Are they going to put people in suits? Are you going to see an actual hedgehog and we're just going to voice it? Are we?
Yeah, there's a number of ways they can do this shit.
Are they going to pull a TMNT where they're fucking aliens from outer space, weird ass green suits?
He'll definitely be CGI. I don't think they're gonna go the route of like it's an actual hedgehog that his little mouth is CGI, so he just moves and talks. I think it's definitely gonna be like TMNT, and it could work. I'm not gonna shit on it anymore. I've reached this age where it's like, look, let's just see it. Why not?
Fucking whatever.
We're getting a live action Sonic movie. If you don't like the way it looks, don't watch it, and that's it. You have options. We'll shit on it if it's terrible on the podcast.
Oh yes.
But if it's great, we'll tell you to go see it. Trust our opinion, everyone. Don't get mad about this.
We're the final opinion.
Don't get mad about it. It could be good.
We're the only opinion that matters.
Speaking of Guillermo del Toro, in an interview on Screen Geeks, Pan's Labyrinth director was asked for his opinion on David Harbour as the new Hellboy.
He said, no, I mean,
You gotta give him a Mexican accent.
You can go ahead.
No, I want you to do it. It's funnier if a whitey. A whitey. A gringo.
I can't. I just can't do it. I'm not even gonna try.
All right. Well,
I'm not gonna have you look at me that way.
Then you are Screen Geek. Yeah, because then it's racist, right?
Yes, exactly.
That's racist, Kelly. Immediately. You can be Screen Geek.
Okay,
then.
I'll be Screen Geek.
No, I mean I like him. I don't know him, but I am involved with this movie. But I sure wish him luck, man.
But he surely won't do as good as Ron Perlman.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No.
No.
Those were his words, aside from the silliness.
So he essentially said, this guy's a piece of shit. You should have gotten Ron Perlman.
He said, that's nice. That's literally the summary right there.
Yep.
That's nice. Not as good as what I would have made.
Mm-hmm.
That's is shit compared to what I would make. It's crazy. He's seen the movie, apparently. I'm going to treat him as I would a Nerd Rage reaction. You haven't seen the movie, Guillermo.
You can't treat him like a Nerd Rage reaction. He's Guillermo.
He is Guillermo.
He's made some great movies, too.
Guillermo, you wouldn't have made this movie anyway. They could have greenlit you for Hellboy 3 and you would have dropped out of it.
Yeah,
it wouldn't have mattered.
When's he coming out with Pacific Rim 2?
There is a date for it.
Yes?
I believe it's like almost done filming or they finished.
It's awesome.
But I don't know if I don't think he's directing. I think he's only producing because it's Guillermo. I have no idea.
It's Guillermo.
You're going to give it a shot though, right?
I am going to give it a shot. I'll see it. I haven't seen the first Hellboy. I need to see the other ones.
Yeah, I mean, they're fun. They're not...
But there's Dougie Jones in it, and I love
Dougie Jones is great. The makeup is amazing. It's worth watching for the special effects.
Dougie Jones play a Jaeger in Pacific Rim too?
I hope so.
I want him to be the whole robot, not the person in the
kind
robot.
Kind of like a Godzilla suit,
right?
Yeah.
He needs to be.
But he needs to be fucking Godzilla.
He'd be much less robotic. He'd just be like doing all these contortionist things.
If they tell him to be robotic, he'll be robotic.
Hell yeah, he'd be the best fucking robotic anything ever.
Goddamn, Dougie Jones, you're the best. I hope you're in this Hellboy reboot.
Yes.
He's in what is it, The Shape of Water?
Yes.
He plays pretty much the fucking Hellboy creature.
He does. He always plays those weird creatures, and I love him for it because he does a great job.
That's why we go see those.
In Pan's Labyrinth, he was great. I need to see that movie again.
As like most of the cast?
Yes. He was like 90% of that cast. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies, fun fact.
It is your favorite movie, isn't it? Pan's Labyrinth and Shutter Island.
Shutter Island's great. The Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh is
Beauty and the Beast.
Good. Beauty and the Beast. I do enjoy that one as well. There's a lot.
You're pretty much here in her top 5 right now.
Yeah. I'm missing one on there. I'm sure there's another movie that I really like somewhere.
Merging from a comic book-based property over to the DC side. This all continues, Kelly.
It's never
over, and I love it, because we can talk about this every week, and I thought we were done with it.
Nope.
But now there's a third contestant. A new challenger has arrived at this Cameron v. Jenkins.
What do they say in Super Smash when somebody arrives?
A new challenger has arrived, yeah. Linda Carter, who played Wonder Woman in the 70s television series, has responded via Facebook to James Cameron's recent remarks from last week.
Quote, to James Cameron, stop dissing Wonder Woman, you poor soul. Perhaps you do not understand the character. I most certainly do. Like all women, we are more than the sum of our parts. Your thuggish jabs at a brilliant director, Patty Jenkins, are ill-advised. This movie was spot on. Gal Gadot was great. I know, Mr. Cameron, because I have embodied this character for more than 40 years. So stop it. End quote.
What do you think about, I don't think it's substantial enough. Like, she just said, knock it off. Was her whole thing, but it's like, oh, he's not going to stop. They're going to ask him about it. He's going to give his opinion.
Of course he's going to give his opinion, but I like that she chimed in on it and pretty much said, this isn't what women are about. You're an idiot. Without saying, though, like, she handled it very eloquently, very, very PR. It was a very PR response.
There's a lot of capital words there.
Yeah, but the way she said it. But she would know. Like she said, she researched this character. She embodied this character for 40 years. And for me, it's encouraging that she liked the movie that much when she had so much invested in the character.
So there's a whole new layer to this, Kelly.
Mm-hmm.
And you may switch you might be like, holy shit. That's kind of, I see why James Cameron is doing this now. It just got revealed that Sarah Connor, Hamilton is coming back to play Sarah Connor from Terminator 2 in an upcoming Terminator film that he is now producing. So he is getting that character back in the limelight by comparing her to Wonder Woman. No, my character was way better. And then suddenly, a few weeks later, what happens? Oh, we're making this movie starring Sarah Connor. We're going to ignore the Terminator films. Arnold Schwarzenegger is coming back. This is a direct sequel to Terminator 2. Me, as a fan of Terminator 2, I'm like, fuck yes. So now it may have all been to promote a fucking new Terminator movie. It's kind of brilliant.
You know what James Cameron is?
A troll.
He's a beach ant. He is a beach ant.
You gotta admire it a little bit. Like, that's a salesman right there.
God.
The heart of a salesman.
I'm angry now. I'm angry. I don't want to talk about this man anymore. He makes me mad.
Are you going to watch it? I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch Terminator 3, the true Terminator 3.
I'll watch it, but I'm not going to watch Sarah Connor with her no bra and be like, oh, yeah, she's stronger than Wonder Woman because she has issues and Wonder Woman's just pretty and doesn't wear any clothes. Because that's not what any of this is about, like James Cameron thinks it is. But
and he may not really think this either. He's just talking so that people talk about him so that he can then promote Terminator. Everyone's fallen for this shit, if that's his intention.
Or he may just be stupid and he's riling up women and this is coming out anyway.
I still admire all of this. I love it. I hope he responds to this too.
Oh my God.
So I can talk about it with a guest next time. So continuing with DC Entertainment President Diane Nelson and co-president of DC Films, Jeff Johns, have recently touched on how the DCEU films, a lot of buzz on this, will be handled as they continue to build their universe. I think this is probably the story from the week, if we had to choose one.
Quote, some of the movies do connect the characters together, like Justice League. But, like with Aquaman, our goal is not to connect Aquaman to every movie. The movie's not about another movie. End quote. This came from Jeff Johns.
And from Diane Nelson, quote, moving forward, you'll see the DC movie universe being a universe, but one that comes from the heart of the filmmaker who's creating them. End quote.
I really appreciate that they're doing this because the thing I've seen and the thing you see with all the Marvel movies is everybody's saying, well, why isn't this character in it? Why isn't this character in it? I was talking to friends recently and they were watching the rest or I came over to their house at the end of that movie that we didn't like. With
Ant-Man,
the magic guy.
Avengers, Doctor Strange.
And the Infinity Stone was in there. And they were talking about, in the next one, how are they going to connect all the Infinity Stones and get them all into one movie? So now you've had all these movies with the different Infinity Stones, and now you have to get all those characters and all their stones into one movie.
They're all just to set up Infinity War.
Exactly. And that's all it's for. And I can see why people like that, but for me, I think unless you pull a Jeff Johns and you plan out the entire Green Lantern universe from start to finish. Was that Jeff Johns? That was Jeff Johns.
Absolutely.
And you plan it out so far, 3, 4, 5 years in advance so that it all flows together seamlessly.
Which he did with Rebirth.
Which he did. But unless you're doing that, then the movies aren't as strong as they could be. Because you're making this for that.
Well, Disney and Marvel, they did plan this out too, although they do it in phases, right? They call it phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. It all built to Avengers. That was phase 1. And then the next thing, they figured that out next and then did that. And then there's another phase, which is Infinity War. And it's shorter amounts of planning. And the problem with the Marvel movies, and again, we're glad people like them. It's great for comics. And as I mentioned on the Super Side Up podcast, it's more like junk food, right? It's not a full meal. And that's an analogy that Matt brought up. It's as far as the full meal portion, but they're satisfying at the moment. They don't stand strongly as on a rewatch or over the years. And something we always say when we watch these movies, and this is why Captain America was our favorite one, is it stands on its own. Like, you can watch it by itself. Batman Begins, yes, there's 2 other sequels, but you can enjoy Batman Begins as is. Now, I know that's outside of the cycle of the current DCEU, and one thing I will criticize BVS for is that it leaves us with the dead Superman. And it's like, oh, maybe he'll be back. It's kind of, that portion of it is not its own standalone movie. I can't just watch BVS and be like, oh, but wait, Darkseid is coming. That's one thing that it's like, it's set up for something bigger. And you had Doomsday, but that is not a standalone movie. And while we enjoy it, it's not, it's not as strong as Batman Begins or The Dark Knight or maybe even Captain America. Although we enjoyed portions of BVS more than the Marvel movies, as a film, Captain America is a better movie. So if Jeff Johns' direction is, perfect example, Suicide Squad. This isn't a movie that's like, and then in the next one, they're going to find where's Killer Croc or whatever. Where's El Diablo? No, it is its own movie.
I hope we find El Diablo again.
I hope so too. It's its own little standalone movie that you can enjoy without like, I got to go see the sequel. I got to see what happened in BVS. Like, yeah, those things happened and they all impacted it, but it's not about those things. It's about the story in front of you. And hopefully the rest of the movies do follow that, which it sounds like they do. Aquaman is about, him fighting Black Manta and fucking Ocean Master trying to come on everyone.
Surprise, B-Chance.
So I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I want to see that without having to worry about like, is Aquaman going to come back at the end? I don't want that. So this is the way you do it. This is how you make movies that stand over time. And Warner Brothers has always been the more art house of the huge studios. And Diane Nelson is reflecting that by saying, we want the filmmakers to make their own project, to do what they want to do. And Jeff Johns is there to direct it in a way to like...
Jeff Johns.
Who else do you want in that seat, right? Jeff Johns, the guy that fixes everything.
A real-life superhero.
He really is. He definitely is. And I'm sure his Sinestro, I have confidence that his Sinestro, when we do see him, and we will, in the Green Lantern films, will be better than the Mark Strong one. And we like Mark Strong in that Green Lantern movie. We do like that
He was
Sinestro.
very handsome.
But we didn't get enough of him.
No.
Sinestro under Jeff Johns' guidance will be even better. Like, they can do a great Sinestro, and they will.
Can you wear some galaxy pants in that movie?
That wasn't Jeff Johns, but sure. That'd be a nice nod.
That's fine.
He can have his side hoe. Who was it? Lisa. Lyssa. Maybe it's pronounced Lyssa.
Lyssa, maybe.
I'm not sure, but and then he's got to.
I don't like her. No, I don't want her.
He's got to have a moment. Well, he doesn't really love her. Remember that.
He just fucks her.
Yeah, it's Sinestro. He fucking does that shit. He's the Batman of the galaxy. No, Batman's the Batman of the galaxy.
Yeah, hell yeah, he is. Batman's the Batman of the universe.
There's gonna be a scene in which Hal Jordan comes across an old family photo like Jeff Johns did of like, oh, who's that right there? And he just blows it up and he says, a life long gone or whatever. Like, Sinestro, let us learn more about you.
You're so mysterious.
He's so great, and we want to see that out of the DC universe. And a lot of people, especially the bloggers, like we shit on bloggers all the time, or at least I do on Twitter and on the podcast. They're saying that they immediately took this and put up the headline of the DCEU is not going to be universe building. The movies are not going to connect.
That's not what they were saying at all.
And Jeff Johns, even after in an interview, he's like, it's frustrating because when I say one thing, people run with it in a different direction. Like now people are saying Jeff Johns fired Zack Snyder. No, he did not fucking fire Zack Snyder. Zack Snyder hopefully returns for another movie in the future. And it's Jeff Johns has worked with Zack Snyder to put this shit together. Like you see their names on the credits for Wonder Woman. And as much as people don't want to admit it because mostly Wonder Woman was well received, Zack Snyder has a story credit on that shit.
Yeah.
Now these bloggers want to instead put this spin on it that DCEU's no longer a universe and they're going to reboot everything and Batman's going to be its own thing and none of this is going to matter. It's like, you guys, you're not fucking listening to what Jeff Johns is. Either you don't understand how he works with the comics, you don't read his books, or most likely, and I guess I don't blame him, you're trying to make a clickbait article so that you can get your fucking ads. But that reflects negatively of everyone else and everyone else gets upset and everyone gets mad. And just be assured that this is all in good hands with Jeff Johns. We've liked the DCEU thus far. I know they haven't been well received for a lot of people, but we love this shit. We want more DC stuff. And I saw this perfect tweet. I forgot who the handle is, but they said, I love Keaton and I love Christian Bale, but their Batman would not fight Superman or parademons. Snyder has given us a Batman that is doing those things. And it's a gif of Batman breaking a fucking parademon's hands, beating the shit out of him, that we're going to see in Justice League next month. Fucking amazing. And they said that's all thanks to Snyder. And it's thanks to Jeff Johns. And it's thanks to Diane Nelson. It's thanks to Warner Brothers. It's fucking phenomenal. What a golden age to be, what an awesome time to be
alive.
A DC fan. What's your take on all this? It's pretty straightforward, I think. As fans, we're like, yeah, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah,
they're aiming for better movies.
Exactly, and that's what they're doing. And like we've said many, many times when you mentioned it earlier, Marvel is junk food, a snack, whereas DC, Warner Brothers is giving us a full meal, something that you can think on, something that you don't necessarily... One of the things I loved about Wonder Woman, and we've talked about it before, is you don't need to have any knowledge of the character to be able to appreciate this movie.
Mm-hmm.
They give you her background. They give you a little bit of her story. I was, again, talking to somebody today who they watched Wonder Woman for the first time, and so they were talking to me about it. And they said, I didn't realize that was her background. I didn't realize that that's where she came, that she was half God and all this kind of stuff. And they give you all of that, but in such a compelling way that you want to sit and watch through these movies, and you can appreciate Wonder Woman on its own. But then now you appreciate her more in Justice League when she does appear there, and in BVS when she does appear there. One of the things that I love that we talked about in BVS, which was one of our favorite moments, is when she's fighting Doomsday, and she gets hit and she smiles, and then she jumps back in, and you realize now, oh, I appreciate that more because I know that she's from a warrior race, and this is what she's always done, and things like that. So that's what I feel Warner Brothers gives you, whereas Marvel just crams everything in so that you can have everyone in every movie.
What's funny about that scene is that was Gal Gadot improvising, and Snyder was like, "Oh, why'd you do the smile?" And she explained, like, "Oh, I don't know. She feels like she's having fun for the first time because she hasn't fought in so many years. That's a story they built." And Snyder's like, "All right, we'll keep it in." So that scene again stayed because of Gal Gadot and Snyder. So it's all a team building thing, and it's all the stuff we're enjoying. Maybe these bloggers that do it like these things, they're not admitting, but it's because of directors that they're also shitting on. It's really bizarre. It's really weird.
We need to go Chris Crocker on these bloggers. Leave Jeff Johns alone.
Well, they're not going after Johns. They're going after Snyder.
Leave
whenever
Snyder
possible.
alone. Jump back to the 90s, early 2000s there.
And just before, they were saying, we don't want any more origin stories. Yet people don't know what they want because they appreciated Wonder Woman for the origin, as you were just mentioning. Obviously, there's audiences that like that stuff. So audiences don't know what they want. Just keep making the stuff you and I are enjoying, and many DC fans are as well.
Just make it just for us.
On to the comic book side, Kelly. Sean Murphy's recently released Batman the White Knight. Pick it up, read it. The miniseries is being extended, an extra issue for a total of 8 comics.
The solicitation for number 1, in case you aren't familiar with this, says, in a world where Batman has gone too far, the Joker must save Gotham City. He's been called a maniac, a killer, and the clown prince of crime. But White Knight? Never. Until now.
So just to be clear, this is kind of a what-if story or an Elseworld story, something outside of the current continuity, something extra to enjoy. And it is really solid. A lot of the people that have been reading it, the reviewers are saying it's fantastic. Maybe we'll talk about it in the next couple of weeks. I don't know if any of them have read White Knight. I'm not sure. We'll figure that out. But the response has been good. And readers are saying, yep, thumbs up. If this first issue was awesome, give me more of this. I'll take another one. And I think it's obviously going to go out of print. It's going to be gone. They're going to go to second printings. And once again, that's called Batman the White Knight by Sean Murphy. 8 issues now.
I think that this is a fantastic idea. I cannot wait for us to get our hands on it and read it.
Continuing with the comics, while DC is not pulling a Marvel legacy, and they're not going back to original numbering for their full lineup of DC Rebirth titles they did with Detective Comics and Action, they will be putting out anniversary milestone variants by Tony S. Daniel.
So, for example, Superman number 34 will be number 800.
It'll have an 800 variant, right?
Wonder Woman number 34 will have a number 700 variant. Batman number 35 will also have another number 800 variant. And The Flash 39 will have a number 700 variant.
So that's going to be kind of their theme, their milestone thing of like, hey, if you want to own, quote unquote, issue 700, you can buy this cover. Or if you just want to continue with the Rebirth, you can buy this cover. And the nice thing with DC, if you've been out of it for a few years, their variants are cover price. So it's not incentive variants, 1 in 25s, 1 in 15s. They're 1 in 1, A, B, and C, just A, B back and forth. So if you want to buy, Batman for $2.99 and it's issue 800, go for it. Have fun. And it's just a fun thing, more options. It's just bizarre and kind of crazy that it's like, oh shit, 800 issues, 700 issues of The Flash. Pretty amazing.
These aren't the only variants that are coming our way, though. DC Comics, Newsarama, and The Hollywood Reporter have revealed the first of the Justice League movie variants releasing next month.
Artists include Dustin Nguyen, Terry Dodson, Yannick Paquette, Renato Guedes, Mike McCone, Liam Sharp, Cully Hamner, Howard Porter, Ben Oliver, and Tony S. Daniel.
That is a great lineup.
We're obviously getting the Dustin Nguyen one.
Of course.
I'm going to get the Aquaman one because it is me
it's
and comic.
You.
My is that considered my second appearance in comics, or does the ad count from Alternate Comics? Does that count as the first appearance?
It's not actually your face, though.
What are you talking about? You're talking in the alternate one?
Yeah.
Right. It's our logo.
So this is your first appearance.
Okay.
Because if we're going by logo, then technically our first appearance is in Anne Bonny.
That's true. That's very true from Blue Juice Comics.
Yes. So this will be your first appearance. The podcast has had mentions.
The Anne Bonny issue, and I'm going back to like my grading right now. Like, okay, so Venom's. It is Anne Bonny's our first cameo appearance. That's considered a cameo or brief.
Yes.
Our first full appearance would be in Croak number 2 from Altena. And then the first appearance of Daniel is in the Justice League variants, but it's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, however you want to order them. Because I'm on several of those fucking covers.
You are. You're on a whole lot of them.
I think it's great. They're coinciding it with the movie's release. They're going big on Justice League, even though the Warner Brothers side is technically like a separate company under still Warner Brothers. They operate separately from the comics division and from the television division. They're all still probably a mandate of everyone like, hey, promote this brand. How they put like the now in theaters Justice League.
Yeah.
Instead of doing variants. And again, you don't have to buy the movie variants. Get the main cover if you want. I'm going to be getting the Aquaman covers.
But more than just variants, they are doing a Justice League Day, like you mentioned at the very beginning of the episode. DC Comics running Justice League Day. This will be on November 18th.
DC is encouraging retailers to host signings. Easier said than done. Look, Jeff Johns, you want to come down to my shop? Great.
You should go sign as Aquaman.
Oh, there we go. I didn't even think about that. They want retailers to sell special Justice League merchandise, which there will probably be, again, these variants, and maybe there'll be a free comic book type of deal. We'll see. And to overall promote the Justice League brand.
It would be really cool if the free thing they gave out, like you had your choice of something that symbolized each of the Justice League. So maybe they have like a little cardboard trident that you could get, or the cardboard Batman mask that they gave out for Batman Day a while ago.
Yes.
Those were great. Or Wonder Woman's tiara or something like that. And you could go in and pick. You have limited quantities, but whichever one you wanted. That'd be cool.
You mentioned it's on November 18th. That is one day after Justice League releases in North America, which is November 17th. So perfect timing. People go in, they watch. It happens every time one of these comic book movies comes out. They go, they watch the movie, they're excited. They go into the local comic shop and say, hey, I just saw Justice League. I want to pick up a comic book, but I don't know where to start. And this is where, good comic shops say, I've got you. Here's this, here's this, here's this. This one's about this one's about this, and this one's this. Here's different pricing. Which one do you want? I'll get this one. Next time I'll get this. And that's how you build a relationship. And this is why they want to do this shit, because it helps out retailers, it helps out their brand, and it helps them sell comic books.
So excited for this movie. We should still be able to see it. Yes, hopefully.
Yeah, Leo's coming earlier than we expected.
Yes.
And because of that, your recovery time will be shorter. I know I'll definitely be there for Justice League.
Whether I will be there or not.
Whether or not you're there, I don't know.
We may just have to go to an earlier showing, because somebody's going to have to watch The Little Man.
It's going to be day one. I don't know. 7 p.m. That's the earliest showing, and I'm going to be
7
there.
7 p.m. is fine.
We did it for Suicide Squad.
Suicide.
And we're doing it for Justice League.
Yeah.
Quite a bit of news this week. Hopefully you enjoyed it. As Kelly, again, it won't be here next week or the following week. We'll find out. She'll let you know.
I'm hoping that you guys don't like some of these guests better than me and say, oh, bye, Kelly.
No, the downloads are probably going to dip. It's, oh, Kelly's not here.
Thanks for making me feel better. Thanks.
You're welcome. Meanwhile, guests in the future, be sure to share the shit out of this on your personal pages. Share the subscription link, not just the episode. That's the one requirement, right? And have Skype. Let's head into our Patreon shout-outs for the week.
This week we have 2 shout-outs. The first is Bobby, whose Twitter handle is at CubanSlim, and the second is Neil, who is at InMats68.
Bobby once again helped us with the Super NES Classic. Because of Bobby, at CubanSlim on Twitter, we had our earlier thoughts on the Super NES Classic. So the Amiibo Hunter, the Classic Hunter. Thank you so much for Bobby here on many levels. He is also a Patreon backer on patreon.com/thereasonsimebroke. Another hero, Neil, at InMat68 on Twitter. He celebrated National Podcast Day by recommending our show on Twitter, along with Geek Legacy, Nerdist, and Kevin Smith's Fat Man on Batman.
We also cannot ignore that Neil sent us some adorable baby clothes.
Oh, so great.
So
they're amazing, yes.
So that my child can not just sit around in a diaper all day.
Superhero themed,
yes.
Which a lot of thought went into all the gifts that people sent little Leo. They were very thoughtful, of course, Batman, DC Comics, and they're great. We have better fans than any of the nominees on the podcast awards, and we've said that before. Even before we were nominated, we have the best following out of all the podcasts out there in any category, and that's all thanks to this is why we keep going, because of the support, because of the interactions, because of the fans. And this week's shout outs again go to Bobby and Neil, and thank you guys so much for the support on Patreon. And that helps keep us going. It helps the quality of the podcasts. We have Alphonic. We've had it for, I think, over a year now. And that's thanks to all of these backers and thanks to the shout outs, whether you've been there from the beginning of our Patreon launch or you just recently joined. If you want to help out the cause, go to patreon.com/thereasonsimebroke. For as little as $1 a month, you get the podcast early, you help out the show, and you help out the podcast. You interact with other listeners. You get your shout out right here on The Reasons I'm Broke.
Of course, our podcast will always be free, though. Best thing you can do for us, let your friends know about us. Leave us a review on whichever podcatcher that you choose to listen to us on. And interacting with us, just like you said, that's the reason that we do this, is to interact with all of you. So reaching out to us on Twitter, liking our stuff, retweeting, talking to us on Facebook, or whatever form of social media you have.
And we also want to give a huge shout out to decalavenue.com for the help with the decals at the $5 reward tier. Check out all of the tiers. Once again, patreon.com/thereasonsimbroke.
But that does do it for our news and our shout-outs for the week. We will wrap it up with our comic book highlight.
This week, we've got a jumping on point, Detective Comics number 965, written by James Tynion IV, art by Eddie Barrows, and colors by Adriano Lucas.
This is following Tim Drake, who several mini issues ago disappeared. We thought he was dead. You recently found out that he wasn't dead, or at least Batman, spoilers, found out that he wasn't dead. And so now we get kind of a glimpse of his journey, not just where he is right now, but how he became Robin as well.
How he became Robin, why he maintained the persona of Robin, and what he did for the role of Robin. All of the Robins have been essential for the character of Batman and for the DC Universe. And for Tim Drake fans, which there's a shit ton of, this is the issue you must own. It's the jumping on point. It's The Lonely Place of Living Part 1. It involves Mr. Oz. Even if you haven't been reading Superman or Detective or Batman or any of the DC books, you can jump into the Detective Comics, which, as we mentioned before, has been the best Batman book overall in DC Rebirth, although now Batman is making a case again with the war of jokes and riddles. But Detective Comics number 965, the history of Tim Drake, why he continues, what it means to be Robin, how he helps out Batman. But then there's a twist at the end and a little bit of a what if with Tim Drake. So it is an excellent story, definitely something you should jump onto if you want a new Batman book.
I agree. I did really enjoy this. And you were mentioning, of course, why he became Robin, all the things. We also get to see in this one why he's choosing to leave the role as Robin, too. So it is a lot of great insight into this character. If you like Tim Drake, if you like the character of Robin itself, what Robin does for Batman, it gives, like I said, so much insight into that. And I think that it's a great place to start because a lot of crazy shit's about to go down.
And also for Nightwing fans, there's some good psychology with the interaction between Tim and Dick on how they kind of work with each other in that Bat universe. They're very different people, very different Robins. But they still work great under Batman's shadow, under Batman's umbrella. And yes, they'll always be under Batman shadows as they should be. As much as Nightwing tries to get out of it, you're always, as soon as Batman calls your ass, you're back in line as Robin.
Hell yeah, you are.
Every single Robin is. As rebellious as Damian is, although Damian is smart, he knows, he loves being Robin. He loves that he's training to be future Batman, whereas Dick is like, I don't want to be Batman.
I want to be my own man.
You'll never be Batman, Dick. You'll always be Robin. Don't worry. And Tim Drake will always be Tim Drake, and Damian, yeah, he can be Batman someday.
With his little trench coat.
So there you go, Detective Comics. And that pretty much does it for the podcast as well. Hopefully, I'll see you next week with our first guest on the Reasons I'm Broke podcast. Kelly, anything that you want to leave the Brokettes with?
Once again, thank you guys so much for all of your support on this journey. Those of you who have been here the whole time, those of you who have jumped on halfway through on my pregnancy journey, listening to my complaining, liking my tweets where I just talk about silly pregnancy things.
Giving her a reason to check her Twitter.
Yes, it does. It does. So thank you all. I will miss you. I will definitely be back someday. Who knows when that is. It all just depends on everything.
Yeah, we've never done this.
No, never happened before. But of course, a huge thank you to Daniel as well. Thank you for being so supportive and bringing me ice cream in bed and water when I choke on a bug or something while I'm sleeping.
Well, thank you for doing the show during a difficult time. I'll never know how difficult it is.
Your child is huge, so.
But I'll never know how difficult it is, and you still choose to do the show every week for our listeners,
course.
for me, and I do appreciate it. You know, our little hobby, it's become our little hobby, you know, and I know you know how much the show means to me and to our listeners, and I think we all appreciate so much. Hashtag thank you, Kelli. There's only one way to spell Kelly, everyone. Kelli.
Yes.
Hashtag thank you, Kelli, for your years of the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, and you'll be back. So
I will
again,
be back.
To new listeners, to people that have never heard it, and to any longtime listeners, don't panic. Kelli will be back someday.
Someday.
But in the meantime, we've got these great, amazing Brokettes, the Broquette core, that have come forth yet again. And for, last time it was for the podcast. Last time it was last week when they tuned in. Every week they support us. And last huge push was for the podcast awards. And now they're coming forward again to help with the podcast. And thank you so much for the emails. I'm going to construct it this week or this next weekend. And I'm not guaranteeing, again, that we're going to have a guest. I've never had a kid. I don't know what's going to happen. But I'm going to try my hardest. And I'll set up a schedule for the volunteers. And, we'll put them up. We'll see what happens. And it'll be the same type of format. We'll have news, but it'll be myself and a guest, possibly two, depending on the schedule. We'll cover the news. I'll send them the document ahead of time of the show notes. Basically, they'll see like a diet version of my show notes that I would send them and the ones that we go over. So my version has like all the different, like, okay, this is going to be for episode 300, and these are going to be the tags and everything. But in this case, I'll send them the show notes every week. They can go over it. They can start coming up with their thoughts. And let's see what comes up next week and what kind of show we construct for them. And in the meantime, again, hashtag thank you, Kelli, at PalpaKelli on Twitter.
Thank all of you. And of course, follow us on Twitter. Like you said, at PalpaKelli, at The Reasons I'm Broke.
At Reasons I'm Broke.
I'm sorry. At Reasons I'm Broke. Follow us on Twitter. We'll have updates. You are on Twitter all the time, posting things, but we'll have updates for the show. We'll have updates on little Leo. And of course, we have to share his adorableness with all of our listeners.
Little brown baby.
But yes, listen, he's going to look
Mini
nothing,
Aquaman.
He's going to look nothing like me. I'm very glad now that they don't take the baby out of the room, because they would never bring him back to me. They would just say, clearly, this isn't your child.
Too handsome a baby from too handsome a man.
The world isn't ready.
So thank you all so much. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelli.
I'll hopefully see you next week. See you next time. How about that?
There
Whenever
you
that
go.
is.
See you next time.